Mounce, BBG, chapter 14, sentence 8. Another one where you have a post positive, so that's kind of the first thing you want to pull out of the equation, pull it to the front of the sentence before you start. And he gives you the host spare as just as, which is what I would do with kathos, of course, every time. But anyway, for just as, hopefully you know how ho pater is the father. He gives you the verb here, raises. And then he gives you something that hopefully you spot as a plural accusative. And if you do, you'll recognize this as a substantival adjective, right? Because it's the dead or the dead ones. So, you know, in this particular instance, everybody kind of knows what you need, but or knows what you mean. But you know, if you were to translate it and you were trying to say, hey, Tom, I understand this is substantival, you know, you wouldn't hurt yourself by translating it as something like the dead ones or the dead people. Because, again, when you have a substantival adjective, many times you're going to find that it's very helpful to add that extra noun or pronoun to let the reader know what gender it is that you're talking about with that adjective. In this case, like I said, most of us understand just it as the dead. Even though it's a plural here, we understand what that means. So the dead is perfectly fine translation. Anyway, for just as the Father raises the dead and gives life, all right, or makes alive, you know, you'll get to recognize poieo as I make. And of course, this having to do with life, so he makes alive, but gives life, same thing. So also, hutos, so, and in this case, so also, hutos kai, so also the Son, and that clearly is your subject because you have definite article and the noun itself that are in the nominative singular masculine, so that's easy enough. There is your relative pronoun. And hopefully you recognize it looks a lot like tus necrus in terms of being an accusative plural, right? So before you go anywhere with it, just go ahead and finish the sentence. So also the Son, whom he wishes, he gives life to. So, you know, you're going to have to do a little gymnastics to make that sound better in English, but hopefully you see how it fits together. If all you're doing is just treating it word by word, you can still handle it. You know, so also the Son, to whom he wishes, he gives life. So I would probably pull the he gives life to the front. So also the Son gives life to whom he wishes. Now, the only problem with that is you notice that Mounce put to at the end of the verb here, and what you have here is an accusative plural. So you got to think about how that's being played with, you know, both within the relative clause and within the main sentence. So again, case you look right, number gender you look left, right? So with number gender, you know you're talking about masculine and you know you're talking about plural, right? So what idea do you have that's masculine plural for an antecedent in the, you know, the prior clause? Well, the dead, you know, right? Whoever he wishes, you know, he just the Father raises the dead and gives them life. So the Son gives them life. Who? Well, the dead. So, you know, and again, you get the same kind of thing going on. So that you might be tempted to go, well, you know, because it's an accusative plural, that, you know, that makes it clear. Well, no, you can't do that. What you got to do is just say, well, it's the same number and gender, because number and gender is where you look left. Number and gender, you have a plural. Plural masculine, so you're good there. Case, though, however, looks to the right, somewhere to the right, and it talks about how you fill in the blank within the relative clause. So again, you're going to come back and go, okay, who, and it's got to be, if it's an accusative, it's got to be a direct object, and it's got to be within that relative clause, and the relative clause is right here. He wishes what? He wishes them. He wishes them. He wishes them what? To give life. You know, he wishes them sounds awkward to us, but, you know, it's the ones he wishes. He wishes them is kind of the idea here. So, like I said, while in English that sounds a little bit awkward, that's what's happening in this particular instance is he's replacing that direct object within the relative clause, and the relative clause is who he wishes. Okay, so he gives life to who he wishes. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So just as the Father raises the dead and gives them and gives life, I better stop there. So also the Son gives life, and I would just sort of mutate it a little bit and say to whom he wishes, in order to have it be good grammar in English. But that should work.